podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Achtung Millwall is the #1 Millwall podcast, and we're proud to support the wonderful Lions Food Hub. In fact, all of our advertising profits are donated to them. Why not visit the link in our X account if you're able to make a donation? Or, if you prefer, why not pick up an Achtung Millwall t-shirt from the excellent No One Likes Us clothing site, noonelikesus.co.uk. At least £8 from every sale is donated to the Food Hub. Achtung Millwall, No One Likes Us clothing, and the Lions Food Hub, supporting families in the SE16 area.
You're listening to Achtung Millwall, broadcasting from the beautiful South Bermondsey. Accept no substitute.
Hello dear listeners, welcome to Monday Merv, another edition of the two sage voices of Millwall, trying to bring some sanity into the world of internet angst and turmoil. Joining me is my second sage is Merv Payne. Merv, how you doing, mate?
I'm good, thanks, Nick. Yeah, not too bad.
Good. We speak, I just described it on the BBC column that I do, listeners. Do check it out. It's on the BBC Millwall page. But Merv, I described Saturday's 3-0 loss at home to Middlesbrough as the most Millwall of results. I think after a good week of optimism, high hopes and possibly overinflated expectations, a 3-0 home loss was just what the Millwall gods normally serve up for us, mate, wasn't it?
Yeah, totally agree. Obviously, after the optimism of last week and that rare win at Norwich, I think we sort of felt deep down. I don't think we wanted to say it out loud for fear of putting the mockers on it or manifesting it, as the kids say these days. But
manifest it.
Yeah, manifest it. Didn't want to manifest it. There was always a risk that it was going to be a case of after the Lord Mayor's show, which is, I think, is a phrase which is so typical of Millwall.
Who wrote that?
I don't know. No, I don't know. They can write a book about it.
Maybe so. Yeah.
I think the weirdest thing for me is, I think I did start checking back. It wasn't quite as entertaining as the 1968 facts last week. I got about as far back as 1966, but I'm pretty sure that this is the first time that Millwall have lost the opening league home game 3 seasons on the bounce.
Really?
Which is quite a depressing stat. I'm not sure what that says about the Millwall of today. I think it speaks more about the Championship, to be honest, because we had that crazy opener last year against Watford, where we once again grabbed defeat from the jaws of at least a draw. We came back from 2-0 down, didn't we? We looked for all the world like we were going to nick it, and then we threw it away. Yeah. Then there was that awful Bristol City home defeat, when obviously everyone was
high emotional day. That was the John Berylson tribute day.
When everyone was hoping that we would do the memory of John Berylson proud with a. Yeah. Then, that was perhaps understandable, but yes, I mean, for 3 seasons in a row to lose your opening game when the expectations so high, it's hard to.
I think there are certain things, my own theory, listeners, I don't know if you'd agree with this, Merv, that Millwall more than most, but there are some things that just run through the veins of the club. It's almost imprinted in the DNA that high expectations, big crowds, and the weight of hope. I don't know if there's a better phrase for it, but it just doesn't seem to do us any favours. We are the eternal underdogs. We're always better coming out of the corner, when we least expect to get a victory. And after the week, we had a great win at Norwich, and then obviously a workmanlike victory down there at Newport in the League Cup. But I think there was probably an overinflated sense that this is going to be a division that we do a waltz through. And when you look around, there's some very good teams. I think Middlesbrough. I don't like to praise the opponents, Merv, but you got to take your hat off to some good finishing. Goal-driven games. They took their chances. We didn't, did we?
Yeah, I was watching the Wrexham West Brom game before it.
Yeah,
and thinking that it must be quite a shock to the system for their fans and their sort of well-known owners to suddenly be getting beat.
Yeah,
and didn't play badly at all. They played very well in both games that I've seen of theirs. But what it shows you is the ruthlessness of the Championship. West Brom probably had three chances. Jeb Wallace came on and scored almost with his first touch. It was a goal out of nothing. Yeah. So I think what Wrexham are learning very quickly is that, if you give a team a chance, quite often they'll take it. Whereas in League One, they'll need 4 or 5 before they maybe get maybe get one. And I think we experienced that. There is a worrying thing for me with our defence, which is, I think, has been a common theme dating back to the Gary Rowett sort of era as well, where we do seem to be in panic mode when the opposition get into our penalty area.
Yeah.
It reminds me of when I first started taking my two boys to kids junior football, and obviously when they start, the kids, they just hack away. It's all like
surround
free
the
for all,
ball.
and it feels like that when you watch the goals back again, the Borough goals, you think there was no one there that had any sort of composure to sort of deal with the threat and get rid of it in any way, or there was no plan to sort of play it out. It was all like panic stations, headless chicken stuff, and I think Borough took full advantage of it. But
I think you're right. I think we're going to come up against other teams like Middlesbrough, well managed, good players. The classic Millwall match at home on a big occasion is its frenzy, and we actually started quite well, Merv. I thought
we did. Yeah, the first half was decent. We could have been 2-0 up at half.
Should have been. Well, we could have been, but the better description is should have been, and I think that's the difference. That's the difference between us.
It comes back to that ruthlessness.
But the early,
subject, doesn't it?
The early pressing, we were tackling them high. We were causing them problems. They were playing loose balls, and we were picking up second balls a lot. And then there was that chance for Camille Negley, which in real time I didn't think I thought he missed it, but I think actually he was the Middlesbrough defender was
there was a deflection.
Forward. He kind of almost got underneath him. I didn't really appreciate that in the moment.
It's never good watching us kick to the cold blow in the first half either.
No, that's not right.
A rarity.
That's not right.
I remember Cloughy. I think Cloughy was the first person to actually sort of make us attack the cold blow in the first. Apparently, he knew he was hot on those sort of details, and I think later in the season, Dalglish as well for Liverpool. They were sort of
swap ends if you win the toss.
Make sure they don't play in their favourite end in the second half. Little details like that. But Rob Ebb. I have a irrational dislike for Rob Edwards in the middle of something. I don't know why.
Why?
Every time I don't know.
Is it the haircut? Is it the haircut?
He just looks like he's the general ensemble. He's like a Love Island reject, isn't he? Really?
He didn't make Love Island.
Winds me up. Yeah, I don't know why. I have this thing with people.
There's
no reason. I'm sure he's a lovely guy.
Yeah.
But I do think. I mean, it was quite early last season. We played Luton at home when he was still manager there, and they looked pretty impressive and beat us 1-0 and without really being troubled. And we were saying then that they're a decent side, and so maybe he just knows how to play against us. I don't know, but Alex Neil has mentioned, I think, that the team felt the pressure, or maybe felt the pressure.
Yeah, I mean, he said something else that caught my ear prior to the game. Actually, is that if you have aspirations to play at the top end of the table, you've got to get used to the pressure. And I think that we still struggle with it, Merv. I think we've always struggled with it as a club. I think that, I'd trace it all the way back. I don't know how far back you want to go. It's certainly before my time. We don't deal particularly well with big occasions, big games at the Den. I don't know why. Maybe it's just not something we're used to, but we're far better when we're, as I've just said, the underdog coming out of a corner. Swinging punches, that metaphorically speaking.
Yeah, I think if you'd have said before the season started, right, the first two games, one of them is going to be a 2-1 win for Millwall, the other one's going to be a 3-0 defeat.
Yeah,
everyone, not to a man, would have lumped on it being 3-0 to Norwich and 2-1 to Millwall. But so we could be sitting here discussing, a good 2-1 win.
You're right.
But I think it was it Denori said it's 44 games to go, and we shouldn't we can't. There's a lot of negative chat, but that's the problem with social media. Sort of straight after the game,
it magnifies it.
Plenty of precedents. It reminded me of the first season back down. It was Harris's first full season. I think we started the season with a win at Shrewsbury.
Yeah.
I think Morrison and Gregory both looked really good. The whole team looked really good. And we were well up for Coventry home the first game, home game this season. And they come and beat us 4-0.
Yeah.
And then Barnsley came down and beat us 3-2, which was a bit of an omen. But we ended up getting to the playoff finals then, obviously losing to Barnsley. But even the following season when we won the playoffs, you probably remember, we had a good little start to the season. Then went to Peterborough and got whacked 5-1. So I think if you're gonna get these sort of performances, all these things out of your system, it's best to do it now. But yeah, it's disappointing, but it shouldn't define us. I can remember getting whacked 4-0 at Man City and 4-1 at Barnsley the year we won the second division. Long time ago, obviously.
Yeah.
it goes to show it's never going to be a cakewalk, and it is
social media exists on the roller coaster of you're either triumphal or you're in despair. There's never an in between. I saw a great post, and I can't remember whose name it was, so you're going to have to forgive me. And it was words to the effect of 44 games to go, a lot of football to be played.
Yeah,
we actually weren't that bad in phases. Now, I'm not going to defend losing a game 3-0, Merv, but
no,
I thought that was, the third goal was very much pushing forwards, trying at that stage desperately
getting caught out,
to get something out of 2-0.
They just threw everything at it. Yeah,
the game was over at 2-0. I mean, I think we were probably over before that. We just ran out of ideas, which is a problem. That's something I think that Alex Neil will want to look at and think about whether he got it right. I think he's, I've got every impression that he's an honest manager of himself. So
yeah, I think so. Yeah. I mean, you look at last year. We went to Plymouth and got beat 5-1. No one could work out why. And then next thing you know, we're back looking good again. So I'm confident. Well, I mean, it's not worth getting too down after at the end of August.
It would be Millwall if people don't get too down, would it? It comes with the territory,
I mean, it could be a lot worse. We could be Man United or West Ham fans,
That's true.
United,
I mean, even you're right. You're right. I mean, those
200 million pounds of frontline
so-called talent. I mean, even a team like Sheffield United. I mean, not quite on the same spending scale, Merv, but I mean, they're struggling at the bottom of the table.
Expectations of that. Well, this is what concerns me. I've got tickets for Sheffield United on Saturday.
Oh, okay.
Because it's one of my favourite away days. It's one of the ones I always look to try and get to.
Yeah.
And I sort of got lucky this time because we were in. My daughter's going to Leeds Festival.
Right.
And she's going with her boyfriend, and they don't do camping, so we're staying at a hotel and we're driving them in backwards and forwards.
You're too old to keep in a tent now, Merv.
Yeah. Well, she's only 8, but I'm not going. I'm not got tickets to it. We just stay at the hotel. So my missus said, "Well, what can we do on the Saturday when they're at Leeds?" And I said, I'll think of something. So I've got 2 tickets. I haven't told her yet, but I'll just get her in the car. It's only half an hour from the hotel. I said it's a secret, but it's a lovely city. We'll have a city break. It'll be at Bramall Lane. So, I mean, I'm concerned because obviously Sheffield United expectations were high. They lost the playoffs last year, so they're expecting. They've got a new manager.
Yeah.
They started off.
They've had a mirror of a start.
And they've had 3 defeats on the bounce. Bristol City at home, Birmingham beat them, knocked them out the cup. They lost again. So either we know how this goes, don't we? It's either they're in a bit of a tower spin, or we continue the bad run, or we do the usual Millwall thing and be the gift that keeps on giving and hand a team on a bad run the get out of jail card. So we'll have to see. But
it's going to be a big game up there at Bramall. I know you're right. I'm going up there myself, so I might catch up with you up there.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll certainly catch up with the Monday Monday with Merv show. That's for sure, listeners. I suppose a few bits and pieces to come out of Saturday's game. The injury to Alfie Doughty was a bit concerning. We don't really know the full extent of it. I haven't seen anything. I've been out most of the days. I haven't seen anything online yet about his hamstring, which is a concern. I think Zach Sturge coming in did a good job, but he's going to be rusty coming into the first team. I suppose you have a concern, a service to the front too. I know Josh Coburn hit the crossbar and the post and the defender in that bizarre header, didn't he? But we didn't seem to give a lot of service to the front too. And I think, I read the same stuff online, and some of it you think, God almighty, we're not giving the front too much service at the moment. Or certainly we didn't Saturday. That's got to change, Merv, because our problem with scoring goals. I know we got 2 at Norwich, but it seems to have carried on. Certainly on Saturday, we not just don't get this goal scoring. We've got to get the goal scoring going. Got to get it flowing, haven't we?
Yeah. I mean, I wonder if it's the age-old question. You get fans saying we need a striker. Well, we need players who are going to create chances for the strikers we've got, because I think they've proven if you create enough chances, they'll score them.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's a shame because I know Aziz was getting some stick, but if you look at the highlights, he was at the heart of the chances we had in the first half, and he looked sort of causing a few problems. But I think that's just the fact that perhaps for certain teams we're quite easy to sort of snuff out, quite easy to sort of to eliminate that goal threat. Maybe I don't know. Maybe they're just a bit.
I like Aziz. I like Femi Aziz, and I haven't seen any digging out of Femi, but It was up against some good defenders. Ayling was his opponent.
Yeah.
And he's been round the track a few times, Merv, at Ayling, hasn't he? And he,
Yeah.
It wasn't all one-way traffic. I thought, Femi's cross was for the Camille Negley header that might have been a penalty, might not. And also, I think Femi put in the cross that Coburn got underneath and hit the crossbar with. So, he can't do much more than he could maybe do more of it. I will accept that.
Yeah,
but those are good crosses.
Yeah, maybe it's a matter of the opposition of finding it quite easy to actually just stop it, and it's a matter of we need someone with a bit more guile who can unlock.
The ball was unlucky with that volley cleared off the line. Another day that goes in the net, and we got a different game.
Well, exactly. 3-0. The history books will show a heavy home defeat, but it was never really that bad. And like I say, if Coburn's header goes in off the post instead of back, then
different ballpark, isn't it?
Yeah, my optimism was still higher, similar to the Norwich game after goalless first half. I thought we can come out and hopefully nick it and take control of the game. And even when Borough scored, I thought, well, it's early.
Yeah.
I can see us getting ourselves back into it, but once that second goal goes in, it's just it was done, wasn't it? Because a team like Borough can, as Alex Neil said, they'll just sit back.
Yeah, which is what they did.
And defend it. Yeah.
That's what they did. I think our message then, Merv, we got to agree a statement, a bit like Zelensky going to see. We got to agree a statement that's to everyone. Calm down. It's the one game.
Definitely.
Let's see how we go after 10. I mean, if we're still shipping goals and if we're still not winning, then we've got a problem. But
this time last year we'd let in 7 in 2 games, haven't we?
We had 3
4 at Bristol City. After that, we had 2 absolutely. I don't know what we were discussing this time last year, but it was mad for other reasons. We were scoring goals, but we couldn't stop letting the bloody things in.
Yeah.
And I think Duncan Watmore was flying at the time. I think he had about 3 goals in the first 2 games, and he didn't have a point on the board. And you look at how we changed at the scene. It changes so quickly.
One thing did interest me on Saturday. I think it was after the second goal. One of the Middlesbrough subs. Started giving it large to the West Lower where I sit.
Yeah.
Now I imagine people have said stuff to him and he's giving it back. And I do subscribe to the view. If you're going to dish it out, you've got to be prepared to take it. But I did see quite a few gestures from the Middlesbrough players towards Millwall fans, which is, I think he actually saw a yellow card from the substitutes bench, which is highly unusual. Highly unusual.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
But I do think it's worth saying to, I don't know if the authorities don't listen to it, but it's, the issues with what gets said at football matches is not always a one-way street. Because
definitely not. No,
it was quite clear he was trying to goad someone to do something.
Oh, yeah.
And
it's very easy, wouldn't it, to do that? I've always thought that, with these sort of the punishments that clubs get for what fans do, it'd be very, very easy for them to be. And it's easy to say, well, don't react. But I mean, it's
the heat of the moment. Yeah. People say stuff, and you can't. You got to take your medicine if that comes back on you. But it just struck me how it's not just the crowd and the saints on the pitch. It's a two-way thing. This guy, I don't know what he's. I don't really care who he was, and he saw yellow, so fair play to the referee.
Yeah.
But he could have incited something there. So it's
absolutely.
Give it, you got to take it, but let's have the punishments in all directions, which I suppose kind of happened there. But there we go. So we move on. We move on to Saturday to Bramall Lane. I'm looking forward to it, Merv, as you just said. It's always a good away day.
It is, yeah. I like Bramall Lane.
It's a good old school atmosphere and ground, isn't it? Bramall Lane.
It is, and it's a good old stadium right in the middle of the city, and that. And I've got fond memories. The first time I went there was in '87 when O'Callaghan scored like a late winner. And we won that. I think that was our first away win of the season. That was really memorable. Sort of.
We've had a few decent results there, haven't we, over the years?
We have. We tend to do quite well. I've seen us win there quite a few times without tempting fate. But it'd be interesting. 2 teams that certainly Sheffield United who will be desperate to get back to winning ways. But I think sometimes you're better off as the away team in this division as well. I think a lot of.
Well, I think a lot of teams seem to be able to soak up the pressure and then hit on the break. I mean, just watching the ITV highlight show. Incidentally, Aaron was down on Saturday doing the presentation, so do check it out, listeners. It's a good little package show they put together there. But I mean, a lot of teams do seem to be able to score goals, but they do look quite loose, not loose, but beatable in the other direction.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
So it's going to be an open division, I think. That's my
Well, yeah, I
take.
mean, we discussed this last week, and again, it's only 2 games in, but I still think it is going to be one of the most open championships for quite a while. I don't think anyone's going to, and maybe not, maybe in January when the window reopens, or there's still some this window still open. You know, if someone's going to buy a few more players, but I still can't see someone streaking ahead of the rest and running away with it. So if that's the case,
I agree.
Everyone's got a chance, really. You know.
Well, enjoy your trip to Sheffield on Saturday, Merv.
Yeah, hopefully see you there.
Yeah, if I don't see you there, we'll catch up next Monday for Monday with Merv, dear listeners. So a big thank you to Merv Payne for checking in, and stay tuned. We'll be back after these messages.
Tired of losing your sanity looking for important work? Dropbox Dash finds what you need fast across all your work apps so you can focus on what matters. Dash means less time searching, more time creating. Learn more at dropbox.com/dash.
Achtung, Millwall.
Welcome back, dear listeners. Huge thank you to Merv for joining me on the show, as always, every Monday with Merv. Do tune in, dear listeners. Huge thank you also to the many voicemail correspondents who have sent me their reaction to Saturday's home loss. We're going to run through some of them very, very shortly. But I just wanted to say, if you want to become one of our contributors, dear listeners, do feel free. Give me a shout on X. You can direct message me on X. We'll need to exchange mobile phone numbers, but message me. We can sort it out from there. We basically just look for a post-match or any kind of reaction, really, any time, actually. If you want to send me stuff, then always welcome. So yeah, give me a shout on X. You can leave voice notes on X, actually, which is one way you can do it. So do feel free. Or it's probably easier just to exchange mobile numbers, and we can have WhatsApp voice notes to each other from there. So big thank you to everybody who sent stuff. We've got quite a few to get through this week, dear listeners. So we're going to begin now with Jim Hackett, and I'm going to follow that with Jamie Mack.
Morning, Nick. Jim Hackett here. Thought I'd drop a few thoughts after yesterday's game. No doubt you're going to have a lot of moaning, groaning, and probably justified comments from everybody, but I thought I'd put my 2 minutes in. I think the writing was on the wall as soon as you saw that Cooper had lost the toss and off they went kicking towards the CBL. That's never a good sign for us, is it? So unfortunately it started there. I think we had that good first opening spell where we worked hard, trying to close them down all over the pitch, but really didn't create too much. But they did to us really what we did to Norwich last week, where we soaked up a little bit of effort from them, and then we turned the game round and kept hold of the ball better, used it better, and obviously got the win. I think if you look through our team, there was an insecurity yesterday, I thought, about the back four, and it all started, I think, you might remember it early on, where Kramer picked up a stupid yellow card for just pulling a player where he didn't need to. He was in the middle of the pitch and he pulled him. It was like he suddenly thinks he's a superstar and can get away with things like that, because it was stupid. Tanganga gave him a bollocking for it, and it sort of set the trend then for, not for stupidity, but for poor play along the whole back line. And it's funny enough, later on when Sturge got booked for the same thing, I thought it's too often for us now that our defenders are getting beaten by a player and just tugging their shirts for it's schoolboy stuff, and I just can't quite understand it, but I'm sure the manager will be picking stuff up there. But Kramer, I thought, had a poor game yesterday, and that contributed to it. And maybe he was always on the knife edge because he already had the yellow card. Tanganga yesterday, I thought he was very, very casual in a lot of the things he did, and not like him. But I think again, he might think he's better than what he is, and that by playing like that, obviously it sort of helps us in the fact that nobody's going to come and get him. But when you watch it, it's not comfortable, because he's a much better player than he showed yesterday. He was too easy to give the ball away, too easy with his passing, and then I think towards the end he knocked the ball out that he didn't need to knock out for a corner, and they ended up, I think they scored their second goal from it. But that's by the by. I think yesterday wasn't his best game. Cooper, he gives 110%, Jake Cooper, but unfortunately everything he does is untidy, and I think it's obviously something to do with it being 6'6", 6'7", but he never looks comfortable when he's got the ball at his feet, and suddenly Alex Neil has gone back to this style of wanting to keep the ball from the back, and instead of us getting it forward quicker and getting it into players, we're fanning around with it at the back. And I don't get it. It didn't work last year when he tried to do it and we got battered. And he's tried to do it again yesterday, and unfortunately we've ended up getting battered. So, I'm hoping he goes back to getting the ball forward a little bit quicker and remembering what we were good at last year, because when you looked at our players yesterday, the front two got so poor service, from, unfortunately, it came from the back, because every time we tried to play through the midfield, our midfield was closed down very well, and we couldn't get the ball forward. Just to finish off with the back four, I thought Doughty looked like he's blowing early on, and unfortunately he doesn't come across as being the fittest lad, but he's got some quality there. But you saw yesterday coming off with his hamstring. We won't know now how long that's going to be off, and he was injury prone last year at his last club. So let's hope we can get that sorted out and get him get a bit fitter now before he does come back, because he's a good quality player. Midfield yesterday, I thought Billy and Casper, they really dug in and really worked their knackers off, because I thought, that Middlesbrough just waited to pick everything off. But with them two, I thought they really gave it the best shot. And I did feel sorry for Billy getting booked, because it was a challenge he made and the player made a lot of it. But apart from that, they were playing against three players all the time, and you just see that the life was getting drained out of the rest of the team. But them two really sort of put a shift in. So if there was any criticism of everybody else, I certainly wouldn't be at them too. And Negley as well. I thought Negley played exceptionally well, and the amount of times he had to run back or recover just to cover for Cromer, it was astounding. But that's what he's there to do, and it's only hard work. I thought Aziz, he was if he's got out of Aylin's pocket yet, I'll be surprised, because Aylin had him right where he wanted him, and Aziz seemed to sort of drain of confidence every time he got the ball in a 1v1 situation. He just couldn't get past him. So sort of power to Aylin, but Femi's a little bit better than that. But he's played so well in sometimes that you're going to forgive him the odd bad game. And then, like I said, the front two didn't get any service at all. Coburn was unlucky with his header that hit both posts, and apart from that, there wasn't a lot else come out of them. But they weren't getting the service they were used to last year, and I think this is where Alex Neil's got to learn, really, from what he wants to do with the team to the players he's got. The goals that they scored, if you look back, they all came from mistakes. The first one they scored was Cooper just getting drawn into nearly making a challenge, but the lad just sort of turns him and he's away, and then the next stage is it's in our net. The second goal, like I said earlier, came, I think it started with Tanganga giving a needless corner away, or it was some sloppy play that ended up with them getting the ball into our net. But it was started with a mistake, and then the third one, poor old Marco, everything seemed to sort of be going his way, and then he just gives the ball away so cheaply with just some shocking control, and it goes in our net. So 3-0 probably didn't flatter Middlesbrough, but it certainly didn't help our cause. I think Alex Neil was out-tacticked, if that's the right word, by his opposite number, Edwards. And, we showed yesterday we're not able to carry any players. We carried too many players yesterday, and we're not able to do that. So maybe it's a reality check that our club or our team, our supporters, everybody needed to happen, because it's a sort of game where we've ended up getting battered, and we're generally quite good at coming back from that. So I'm not as downbeat as some will be, because we could have scored 2 goals. I mean, one cleared off the line, the header from Coburn. And, if either of them had gone in when they did, then the game might have been totally different. So we'll give it I'll probably give it about 6 or 7 games to assess where we really are in the scheme of things, because, the division is so difficult. You can see teams are beating each other. Some teams seem to have a good run going at the moment, and we'll just see where we all end up. But I think Alex Neil needs to maybe not over-tinker with us and remember what worked last season, because what we got last season with Coburn and Mihailo up front was, they mix it up a little bit, not too similar, if you like, in what they do. But the service I got yesterday was poor, but that was because Middlesbrough had time to set up. We didn't do anything quickly against them, and hopefully Neil will learn from that. I think one good part is that if anybody was looking to nick Ivanovic or Tanganga from us, I think if they watched him yesterday, I think they'll be putting their money back in the pocket, because they didn't offer anything yesterday, either of them. So, you know, the multi-millions that might have been talked about certainly weren't coming out after yesterday's performance. And then we go on to the next game against Sheffield United, and I think it's a good game for us to get, because they're after getting their season up and running. We need to recover from yesterday, and it's a perfect game, as shown in the past. You know, when we're not expected to get too much out of something, we'll play well. So let's hope we all get onto there. If I had to have a man of the match yesterday, it would be Casper and Billy, or Casper first, followed by Billy. But apart from that, I don't think anybody sort of qualified. But let's get on to Sheffield United and hopefully get this out of our system. Okay, good luck, everybody, and come on, you Lions.
Hello, Nick. Jamie from Australia. Just ringing up to say I've just finished watching Millwall 0, Middlesbrough 2. A rather drab affair. Kind of feel that Neil had to go with that team, but it was kind of outfoxed with the three at the back, which really nullified our two young boys against some wily big centre backs. Thought Negley looked good at the beginning, but after he got kind of clattered, he kind of drifted from the game, and maybe him and Aziz should have been taken off a bit earlier, I think. Kind of then got flooded in midfield, which we lost, and yeah, we made Middlesbrough look good, and we looked a bit leggy, which is a bit of a worry. Kramer definitely doesn't seem like the long-term solution at right back. He is going to be extremely exposed against good right wingers. As much energy as he's got, he's not a right back, and I'm going to stay that now. Other than that, there was quite a few interesting performances with a lot of huff and puff, but they really contained us, and they had their shape and they had their form, and we didn't really react to it. So full credit to Middlesbrough. They well deserved the victory.
Big thank you to Jim and to Jamie out there in Australia. Yeah, a lot to agree with in both of those messages, to be honest. We were a little bit overrun, outnumbered, whatever you want to call it, in midfield. I think Jim pointed out Billy got a booking. He also got hurt, actually. I don't think he looked quite the same player after that clash where he went down on the field for treatment for a while and stood up to see a yellow card. I think it was both, he's got to contain his game with carrying a yellow, but also I think he was carrying a knock as well. We started brightly, didn't we, dear listeners? And I suppose you can't keep that pace going all the time. That's the thing. So if you don't get your chances and don't get your goals whilst you're in the, in the fifth gear, so to speak, then you got to keep it tight at the back. And we did look a little bit lax. I think both of the boys there have made the same point, how we looked a little bit loose in defence for whatever reason. Kramer, I kind of agree with Jamie. I think that we are slightly applying what they used to have on Blue Peter, sticky back plastic, didn't they, to a position that does need filling properly. Whether that's going to be Danny Mack when he's fit again, I don't know. I imagine I have no insight into the world of the inside of Alex Neil's mind, but I'm guessing that the club want to see how the transfer window pans out. If a bid does come in for Jeff Tanganga, and as Jim said, I think there's not much yesterday to attract the interest of any Premier League watching clubs or anyone else for that matter. I don't think and also up front. But I suppose if he is to move at some point, then Kramer will probably revert back to his natural central position, and then maybe we fill that right back position. I don't know. Don't know if that's how it the thinking goes up there. But it was an odd game. Whether it's delusions of grandeur, as I think Jim said, I don't know. I did want to interject at this point, dear listeners, if I may, with a post that I received. Was actually a direct message from another Australian listener, Millwall Mickey, on X. And the reason I'm just interjecting it is I don't know this chap he's talking about, but I'll read the message verbatim. It's Nick, I just wanted to touch base with you about my uncle. This is Mickey's uncle, a chap called John Day. Unfortunately he's in a hospice with not long left. He's old school Millwall, probably around my time, but I may be fractionally older, so I'm going to guess that John's time was late 70s, 80s, I'm going to guess. As Mickey says here, he's born and bred in Deptford, still lives there with the family off of Evelyn Street, used to drink in the Globe more times than he probably should. Mill through and through. Does it ring any bells? Mickey's trying to get hold of him. Obviously, with John, sounds like he's not got long to go. Let's not beat around the bush. And Mickey's trying to get hold of any old mates. Now, I don't know John Day. I don't know if anyone listening to the show knows of him, or might know of any mates of his, or anyone that used to hang with him in the Globe at Deptford. If anyone does, give me a shout, and I'll certainly pass it on to Mickey. Mickey's based in Australia, but John is in England and in a hospice, as we've said. So that's John Day out of Deptford. Used to drink in the Globe, and sounds like he's one of the chaps in the late 70s, early 80s. So happy to help in any way that I can. So if anyone does have any knowledge, give me a shout, and I'll pass it on to Mickey on your behalf. We're going to listen now to David Liederkramer.
Hi Nick, David Liederkramer here. On the Sunday after what can only be described as a very disappointing game against Middlesbrough, I, like everybody else, thought we were on the up. I drank the Kool-Aid and thought that we were going to be a different side this year. But over 60 or 65 years of watching the Lions, you realise that some things never change. And after what was a very good performance against Norwich, we followed it with a very drab performance against Middlesbrough. We started brightly enough. We were on the ascendancy. Borough clearly hadn't remembered the ancient venerable Bede's law and turned us round. Sometimes actually that works in our favour, and it gives us a sort of an advantage, because we know that teams are more fearful if they feel it necessary to change us round and make us kick towards the away end in the second half. But this time it worked very well for Borough. I don't think any of our players actually played that badly. Cooper didn't have a very good game. The defence was definitely at fault for the second goal, and I think performances generally were below par right across the pitch. Hardly anybody played very well. I thought Billy and Casper actually did pretty well, given the fact that they were often overrun in midfield. For once, I think Alex Neil got the tactics wrong, or perhaps he didn't, and the players just didn't implement the plan that he gave them. It's hard to know which, but we just didn't create enough. Ivanovic looked very isolated. Coburn had a fantastic chance in the second half, hitting both posts, could have gone in, and that might have changed the game, might have changed the dynamic of the game, but who knows? It was one of those things. 3-0 was a flattering scoreline to Borough. I think there's no question about that, but they certainly deserved to win. It brought us back to earth with a bump, and that's no bad thing in my view. We've got 44 more games to play, which is a hell of a lot, and I still think this is a good side, and I think that Alex Neil is a very good manager. So overall, I'm in no way going to go bipolar and say that this is going to be the end of the season, or all the other nonsense that I read online about how dreadful our team is after a defeat. I think that there are some lessons to be learned, particularly tactically. I think if you set up 4-4-2 and you don't give your wingers the wingers don't give the strikers the service, then you're asking for trouble. And I think that we need to be a bit more savvy about 4-4-2, because other teams can then work that out and adapt their plans accordingly. And to that extent, I was a bit disappointed by Alex Neil, although, again, I think he might argue that the team just didn't do what he asked them to do. So who knows which way round it was. Doughty went off with the hamstring injury, which was disappointing, although he hadn't had a very particularly good game. And Langstaff came on, didn't do very much, but again didn't get very, very much service. I personally would have probably brought Cundle on and bolstered the midfield and not brought Langstaff on, but I'm not the manager, and he knows far more about football than I ever do. As I think we all knew, the first few fixtures this season are very tough. Sheffield United is a difficult game. They lost both their opening fixtures, but that doesn't mean to say that they're going to be an easy prospect next week at Bramall Lane. It's going to be tough, but if this team can bounce back, then it shows that they've got the backbone that we think and hope that we hope that they do have. Anyway, onwards and upwards. It's a sunny day, and hopefully things will, as they say, only get better. Over and out. Come on, you Lions.
This podcast is brought to you by Carvana. Got a car to sell but no time to waste? Hop on to Carvana.com to get a real offer for your car in seconds. All you have to do is enter your license plate, answer a few quick questions, and if you accept the offer, Carvana will pay you as soon as you hand the keys over. They even offer same-day pickup in many cities. Save your time, score some cash, and sell your car the convenient way to Carvana. Pickup times vary. Fees may apply.
Achtung, Millwall.
Big thank you to David before the break there. Yeah, I mean, everyone's making similar points. One thing did strike me as David was speaking there, though, listeners, and I wonder whether this is a thing that, Alex Neil might want to think about. There's a lot of experience and leadership went out of the club in May, specifically George Saville, to an extent George Honeyman, who I noticed has been made captain of Blackpool and did well. I think he got on the score sheet for Blackpool. Not that I'm making any kind of case for the return of either player particularly, but it was quite apparent as David and others have made the point that the tactics probably were a bit short. There was no one on the field supplying what you might call this vague term leadership, whatever shape that takes. I know there are some that can lead by example, and I suppose that's what you'd say about Billy and Casper Denor, who were our best players yesterday, in my opinion, on Saturday rather. But there's no one to actually see where it's going wrong and ball out and cajole and get under the surface of our own players. Sometimes you need someone to play that role who's on the pitch. And I do think that possibly, and I don't disagree with the need to move out older players, Honeyman and Saville, both in the latter stages of their careers. But we don't really have any replacements on the pitch that I can see at the moment. Whether anyone will grow into that with confidence and time, I don't know. But leadership, that inverted commas thing, didn't seem to be there on Saturday. That's my take. So a big thank you to David Liederkron. We're going to run a few together now for you, dear listeners. So next up will be Aussie Dave, Glyn Horner, Hassan Cooley.
Nick, Aussie Dave here after that shambles against Middlesbrough. Oh dear, let's hope the bubble hasn't burst too badly. I want to review this game by reviewing the tactics, and in no particular order. The first observation is our pressing. Because we have two forwards and really four up front, our pressing can and should be aggressive, like it was against Norwich, and like it was for about the first 20 minutes of the game yesterday. We were right on top of their back three, and we really put a lot of pressure on, and it gave us half chances. But after the first 20 minutes, I don't know what happened, but the pressing dissipated and a major part of our tactics fell apart. The second thing related to tactics was our midfield was overwhelmed. Poor old Denor and Billy, they were up against the two midfielders the other side, plus their two wing-backs, plus one of their roving central defenders. We were just overwhelmed. And particularly in the second half, they just waltzed through us. And I'm surprised Alex Neil didn't do anything. I'll come back onto Alex Neil. A third tactical thing is I thought we fiffed and faffed round the back. When the ball was coming out, Tanganga would have given it to Cooper. Cooper would give it back to Tanganga. He'd give it back to the goalkeeper, and eventually there was no urgency. Whereas against Norwich, it was tap, 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 and we were working our way up the field. We were just too slow. Interesting, Alex Neil made this observation post-match. But if he could see it, I don't know why he didn't change it at half-time, because the second half, we were still slowly building up from the back. So that was disappointing. And next tactical point is we do over-rely, I think, on basically getting it to our two wing players, who are fundamentally Aziz and Crammer, and getting it over to our wonderful forwards. But and that seems to be the only way we hope to form chances. But Aziz and Crammer probably had their worst games for a long time, and that wasn't working. There was no inclination to play the ball down the middle, play it to the feet of the two forwards and let them pass it around and a bit of ride. But it was very get it to the edge, and if the wingers, and if they weren't working, we're a bit stuffed. So that's it. The only thing to bring it all together, these tactics, was Alex Neil's post-match. He said he thought we were okay for 60 minutes, or maybe I was watching a different game. After the first 20, it was Middlesbrough for the rest of that first half and all of the second. So with Alex Neil thinking everything was generally okay at half-time, it wasn't a surprise. He made no tactical changes for the second half, which I expect a lot of us were hoping for. So that's it overall. Quite a few tactics with the pressing, the overwhelmed midfield, too slow from the back, relying on just wingers creating chances. Okay, Sheffield United, we're going to win 1-0. See you, Nick.
Hiya, Nick. Greetings from sunny Mallorca. Watched the game on streaming today, so I wasn't at the ground, unfortunately, but looked like a full house, which was fantastic, and the atmosphere sounded great as well. But what can we say about the game? I mean, I think Borough were clearly, as the scoreline shows us, they were clear winners. In control of the entirety of the game, really, barring a very sort of short spell at the beginning when we were pressing with energy. It became apparent, I think, very, very early on in the first half that our midfield was being completely overrun. And the defensive frailties that we saw at Norwich, where I referred to a sort of ring rustiness of the defence, not quite being on their game. I think they were exposed even more by the fact that there was just no defensive cover in front of them. And we saw that with plenty of mistakes, plenty of miscues, plenty of panic clearances, and no foundation to build attacks from. So I think that's something I'm surprised Alex Neil let it go for as long as he did before he started to make substitutions, and I'm just worried that the Millwall curse of managers coming in with lots of tactical ideas and great in-game strategies who suddenly come to Millwall and decide that they will only do substitutions in the final 10 minutes of a game. And for me, it was clear that some sort of formation change or personnel change was required much sooner. It's only 2 games in. I like Alex Neil. I think he's a superb manager. But I'd certainly like to see a little bit more bravery from him in future. Coburn and Ivanovic were missing the entirety of the game. And I know Coburn almost got a goal, but that's pretty much all he did all game. So, Langstaff, for me, looks like a player who's in much better form at the moment, and maybe should be getting more of a chance to play. Anyway, let's just call that a bad day at the office, and let's just say that a lot of people, management included, probably have a lot to think about. On to the next game. Come on, you Lions.
Well, Nick. That certainly wasn't in the script, was it? I think a lot of fans, including myself, were confident going into today's game. I see a lot of people online making predictions: 1-0, 2-1, 3-0, 3-1 to us. I don't think many people had to stand to lose 3-0, honestly. I think we've been shown up a little bit today. A lot of players, very lacklustre, I think is the word I can use. I pick out some names. I thought Doherty, before his injury, he was very ineffective going forward. I thought he was poor defending. His distribution was questionable at times. It's a shame he went off injured, however. Hopefully that's not too long. But he can do better than that. Just right across the park, even like Dinor wasn't involved in the game a lot. I mean, Coburn and Ivanovic, especially Ivanovic, I don't think he touched the ball. He was so ineffective. There's 2 games really on the trot. He had very few chances up at Norwich, rarely got involved. And today, I don't think even had a shot in anger, which is a bit worrying, really. We've got these 2 supposedly, expensive strikers up front, and only one of them had a real chance, which was Coburn, with the header, which fuck knows how it didn't go in. Hit one post, hit the other. I mean, there's a couple ways you can look at it, Nick. You could say, do you know what? It just wasn't to be our day. We hit the post at one end, Dinor in the first half, and then in the second half, how the fuck doesn't go in, I don't know. It comes off the post twice. Personally, I thought we were doomed when we started the game shooting at the Colbo Lane end. As we know, tradition, is always there. If we shoot at the wrong end first, it's very rarely a good game. We always fucking struggle. But that's just my superstition on that. I'm not sure others agree.
I don't know what else to say really. Just a bump to reality, back to reality. I'd say. I think a lot of us, all this positive zen we've been having through pre-season, the first 2 games, the signings, and that's why I was nervous before the Norwich game. I was nervous before today's game because I was just waiting. It's typical Millwall. We need to be destroyed at home or in some sort of game to bring us back to earth. We can't lose 1-0. It has to be like an embarrassing 3-0 defeat where everyone fucks off after the second goal, like the ground emptied. By the third goal, you could hear a pin drop apart from the Borough fans. And a lot of people were questioning me in the week. Oh, Millwall got a good chance of being in the top 6 and this and that. And I always said, if we're going to be competing at the top half of the table, you need statement victories. Last week against Norwich was a statement to go away to a team who always spends a lot of money, and we went to a ground where we haven't won in like 60 years, and we won. That's a statement victory. Today, if we had beaten Middlesbrough by a decent scoreline or a good performance, it's another statement because we're keeping momentum going. We're actually sticking to the almost like the gossip in such a way. We've been tipped to be in the top 6. I thought today we needed to win and win well to say, you know what, yeah, do take us seriously. But after today, I'm not saying it's only 1 game. We only played 2 games this season in the league. I'm not saying we're going backwards, but today I just felt like if we'd got a win and won well, a lot of people would really be like, bloody hell, this Mill team can do something. Now it's a bit like, oh fuck me, maybe we're not as good as we thought we were. Again, I go back to the starting 11. Negley and Aziz very ineffective. Whether it was them personnel, whether it was Middlesbrough who nullified us, to be honest with you, Nick, the first 15-20 minutes, that was our chance to capitalise and get a goal because they were all over the place. They were fucking awful, and they soon cottoned onto it that they couldn't be passing around the back. That was our chance to get a goal. If we'd scored first, we'd have won today. I have no doubt about that, but it wasn't to be, mate. So we lick our wounds tonight, and I've got faith in Alex Neil that he'll get these boys back on the training ground, and we go again next week against Sheffield United. I'll be going to that, so I've got my ticket. Looking forward to it. Another ground to tick off the list, and I just hope we can put a performance in and react to today's poor showing. A referee was a cunt, by the way. Excuse my language. He was absolutely awful. Card happy. Everything that's wrong with modern day refereeing. He was fucking horrendous. But over and out, Nick. All the best.
Seconded, Hassan. Mate, you're right about the referee, mate. Poor. I bet we see it so often, so much. But anyway, there we are. We can't keep saying the same things. The thing that struck me, and I think, Hassan, Glyn, and then before Aussie Dave said similar things in that tactically we were outwitted, let's put it that way, yesterday. And I think that will be a lesson for Alex Neil. Whether he's bought into the hype that suddenly we're a better side than we are, as Hassan just said there, I don't know. Whether, as others have said, whether he's imagining he can start to play this beautiful passing style, which Middlesbrough tried and then stopped, as Hassan just said there. We've got to be able to adjust to take into account that other teams will have an approach and will adjust their approach to suit how we're coming at them. 4-4-2. I love 4-4-2. Who doesn't? But unfortunately, it wasn't working yesterday, as many of the callers have said. We were overrunning midfield, and it needed changing. Now that ultimately is on Alex Neil. I admire him as a manager, as everyone said. Hassan's just said it. Others have said it before on this show. But he didn't do well on Saturday. No one did well, and I include Alex Neil. From what I've seen of him, and I don't know him, I've only had passing conversations with him, but he seems like an intelligent bloke and an honest bloke, and someone that does review his own performance as much as those of the players under his wing. So, lesson learned. I don't think it's any bad thing to have your delusions punctured in life, generally. Sometimes everyone can get a bit carried away, and I think that's probably what's happened a little bit at Millwall. Are we as good as we thought of? Probably not. No, probably not. We're not a bad team, though, dear listeners. We're not a bad side. Can we retain expectations or ambitions? Let's put it that way. Expectations is the wrong word. Ambitions to finish in the top 6? Possibly. It's possible, but it's going to take hard work. I'm going to sound like I'm opening up the old fame for all your older listeners. You don't get fame other than by sweat and hard work. And I think, plenty of sweat yesterday. There's a lot of effort gone in there, but one or two players did look a little bit cash, and that was to our detriment. Lots to think about out of yesterday's. It was quite a chastening loss in the end. It wasn't a 3-0. That was an overinflated scoreline, but that's what you get if you don't take chances and you concede time and space, which is what happened. Defensively, we were poor. Saturday. I keep saying yesterday as though it's Sunday. It's Monday. There we are. Big thank you, Hassan. Big thank you, Glyn, and big thank you to Aussie Dave. I'm going to play now Rufus Rankin and Rob Woodford, and that will take us up to an advertising break, dear listeners.
Hello, Nick. It's Rufus here. Just sending you a voicemail, like a post-match analysis over the 3-0 defeat at home to Middlesbrough. I mean, you look at where we won at Norwich last week, and you kind of just think to yourself as well, Borough lost 4-0 to Doncaster. The writing was kind of on the wall, really, for them to come to the Den and to beat us, really, because they had their towels up and they wanted to have a reaction to their poor performance in the week, and they certainly showed up and they played better than we did. First 20 minutes, I thought we were looking alright. I mean, we had so much of the ball in that first 20 minutes, and we looked at the team with a bit more threat to our game, I'd say. After 20 minutes, Middlesbrough started to get into the game a little bit more, and I just felt like from our wide areas a bit, there was a lack of crosses coming in to the box and stuff, where I think we could have done better at utilising those wide areas a little bit more. And it was unfortunate that Coburn and Ivanovic, it wasn't their best games really, but they had no service really, so it's kind of hard to put blame on them when they're not getting the ball and having poor service through to them. Then it went like that for the rest of the first half, then got into half time, come out for the second half, and it was like 3 minutes after the second half started, we conceded the ball come down the right hand side, which at the time I thought went off the line, but I watched it on the replay and it didn't. Obviously comes in, Hackney runs in and taps it in. Thought we could have done better there with our defending, but that seemed to like take the wind out of ourselves. That goal changed the game really, because we seem to be so bad at being able to come back when we concede a goal. It's like if we go 1-0 down, we never really tend to win or make a comeback. It's kind of like the game's gone, really, like that we can't get the game back, it feels like. And going back to the first half, I think it was where was it the first half? No, it was the second half where Coburn, he hits the post with his header. That was unfortunate there, like from where we were, because that was obviously down the other end as it changed ends with the coin toss. I thought it went in at first and I jumped up, but just went off the post, which is very unlucky there. And I think this bit was the first half where Denor, he had the shot and the defender cleared it off the line. So we did have a couple of chances that were unlucky, I'd say. It wasn't acceptable to lose 3-0 at home to Middlesbrough. And at that point in the game, it didn't feel like a 3-0 defeat. And as it got later into the game, they were just going to defend it. You kind of knew they were just going to sit back and defend this now. And that's what they were doing. They were frustrating our players. I mean, Ayling, he had Aziz in his pocket all game, I thought. And you could tell their defenders, they sussed us out. They really sussed us out, they did. And they brought a midfielder on for the second half. Hansen, I think it was called. He changed the game. He was absolutely brilliant for them. And they just knew what we were about and how they could stop us. And then it's towards the end of the game where we can see another goal. And then at that point, you just knew it was over really. And I think we kind of just lost our way a bit more. Then obviously the third goal went in as well. But it was just such a disappointing game after the highs of Norwich and then the lows of Middlesbrough. But that was literally just written in the script for Millwall. And that is how you could define Millwall Football Club. Look at them two fixtures. Win at Norwich and lose at home to Middlesbrough. It was just written in the stars to happen, I thought. But like I said, at first it didn't really feel like a 3-0 defeat, because Obviously, it was up towards the end of the game where we lost our way a bit more, but yeah, it was a very strange game, I thought. It was like, it took me a while to think about it, really, to do this voicemail and that, to really have a think about the game, try and reflect on it a bit more. But yeah, it was a strange game, it was. And I know we're only 2 games into the season, like, I don't think it's any chance to panic at all, really, or anything. But yeah, it was quite a disappointing performance. But on we go to Sheffield United next week. Come on, you Lions.
Achtung, Millwall.
I just want to give a quick shout out, listeners, to the News at Den, the News at Den Plus service, subscription Millwall news service. People say, why do we have to pay to read this stuff? It's because that's the press, that's how the press always functioned through history. You went and bought a newspaper and you read the content. I think the internet has done a huge amount of damage to journalism generally, but obviously now recently we've had the decline and fall of the South London press, leaving only the News at Den, John Kelly and Will Scott. I'm proud and happy to give them regular shout outs because it is the only authoritative independent Millwall news source. It's Southwark News, it's part of their group, it's not part of any kind of wider news group ownership. It's an independent newspaper and it needs support, listeners, and their News at Den Plus service is very good. Got some good articles on there. They do a regular podcast for listening in, not as good as Achtung, but pretty good. So yeah, I'm happy to subscribe. It costs me £3 a month, and you get all the Mill stories, the ones that normally go behind a paywall. You can just get on there, and that's how you get your news, listeners. You've got to pay for it. So News at Den Plus, and we'll give a big shout out to the News at Den, part of the Southwark News paper group. Now then, listeners, I'm going to play us out now with the remaining voice notes. There's going to be Barnsley, Jim Littler, Lawrence Binney, Martin Colwell, Rob Abbott and Rob Woodford. So we're going to play it out with the chaps now. Big thank you to everyone who sent their voice notes in. And if you're still listening after an hour of this, thank you for listening too, dear listeners. I'm going to close out now, but I will be playing out with the chaps' voice notes. And hopefully we'll get a result at Sheffield United on Saturday. I'll be there. Quite a few of us are going up there, it sounds like, and fingers crossed we get back on our winning ways. Until the next edition of Achtung Millwall, dear listeners, from me, Nick Hart, it's Arrivederci Millwall. But first up, Barnsley, then Jim Littler, then Lawrence Binney, Martin Colwell, Rob Abbott, and finally, Rob Woodford.
Hello, Nick, it's Barnsley here. Voice has gone because I spent most of the time slagging off the linesman who missed, in my eyes, so many decisions today. I think the ball went out of play when they scored their first. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right. Didn't keep up the play, give a corner from millions of yards away. And the officials today I thought are very poor. But having said that, I think we got beaten by a better team today. They scored us in every department. Sorry, I thought I lost you. No, they just, basically I think Ailing had Cobe in his pocket. Ivanovic, to be honest, he's not getting any service, so we can't really be too much, but he's not really been in the game today. Doherty injury, Hammy, we hear. Started off really well. First 20 minutes, I thought he played really well. It's up against, they were putting a lot of pressure on him. But yeah, and then after that, they sort of got a foot and hold in the game, and they kind of bossed us, didn't they? They were, every second ball they were winning, and there's one passage of play where they were just pinging the ball around our midfield, and it was like, hello, we need to get hold of the ball here, but we just couldn't get it. And they done a job on us today, and I think they thoroughly deserved the 3 points. Going for the team, I thought Bender was very good in goal. He kept the score down, to be honest. And then Kramer's great going forward, but I think he's more in that zone of going forward because he's not really, he's not defensively. I don't think he's that great today. And I thought he was very, very poor. And I want Negley further up the field than what he was today. And I think he's covering Kramer. Kramer can put an amazing cross in. He did a couple of times today, but otherwise he wasn't. Defensively, I don't think he was that great today. But, we're worrying. We think that's our outlay. We're playing Kramer and crossing the ball. Amazing crosses that he does. But we need a right winger. But, he done okay. but he wasn't his best game defensively. I thought Tanganga was struggling a little bit, and I thought Cooper was better today than he was the last 2 games. But otherwise, I think Casper ran. I thought Billy played well today. I thought he run his nuts off. And then the forward line just, maybe it's just lack of service. I don't know, but they didn't look. And poor Femi Aziz wasn't in today, personally. I thought he was poor. But, I think everyone was off it today. I think that's why the result what it was today. We were chasing the game after we went 2 down, and that's where we was. And unfortunately, substitutes were a bit iffy for my eyes. It's on my ears. Eyes, whatever you want to call it, but they were, a bit strange for me, making those changes. But there you go. So, I think it's a bit of a, kick in the bollocks now. We need to really sort of calm down a little bit. But I think, if anything, we need that central midfielder that's going to unlock defensive, because today I think if their right back and left back stop those crosses coming in, I think they're going to sort of nullify our main threats, really. And we just need another way to get in behind teams. And I think that's why we need that sort of linchpin in that midfielder to come in there and just sort of unlock those defences with little free balls. And unfortunately, that person was going to be Doherty, I think, from left back. And obviously, when Brian comes back, we can push him on. But it looks like he's going to be out for a few weeks now. So we've got a week off, lick our wounds, and we go again. But it's we've certainly been brought down to earth with a massive bang. Anyway, mate, take care. I'll speak to you soon.
Hi, Nick. Jim Littler, just dialing in from the gorgeous Algarve sunshine. So, wasn't there today, mate. Watched it on the stick. Twitter got into meltdown, and it's only 5:30. After last week, I think we all got probably a bit ahead of ourselves. I still said to a few people last week, we need that right back. Crummer does well, but he's not a natural right back, and he was shocking today, absolutely shocking. And then the central midfield, Billy played really well last week and done well today to a certain degree, and Casper does well a lot of the games, but he didn't do particularly great today. And we need a boss midfielder, a midfielder that can drive the team on. Not going to go too deep into it though. Listen, it's the second game of the season, and it's a wide open championship, so we're going to have bad results. I'm not sure Cooper is up to this level now. Well, I am sure, to be honest. He's not. That's the simple fact. And unless we maybe drop him to give him a bit of a wake-up call, he'll just carry on plodding along. Going forward, I think that we've still got a couple of weeks left of the transfer window, so there's a bit of time still to do a little bit of business. And I think we need to, because we're probably a bit delusional if we think the squad's final and it's going to get us into that promised top 6 that we all strive for. But there's always another game ahead, mate. So, onwards and upwards. Keep the face lines. Cheers, Nick.
All right, Nick. It's Lawrence Binney here calling in after Millwall 0, Middlesbrough 3. I feel like a bit of a mug for not expecting that. I think in private, at least, I've been chastising people online and in various circles for getting too optimistic and getting carried away. But I have to admit, after that Norwich game, it really did feel like HMS pissed the league. And I think for the first 30 minutes of today, I feel like we kind of carried on where we left off after that Norwich game. I was really impressed with the pressing, the involvement of the kind of fullback / wing backs. Kramer seemed to be our biggest attacking outlet, along with Aziz on the left. Maybe, I don't know, just a little bit of rustiness with the final ball. Things just not landing, and you can't really legislate for luck, like Borough had for that first what should have been a goal from Casper De Norre. Fantastic block on the line from Luke Ayling. And yeah, we were all over them, but I think there was a sort of sense that if we didn't get that goal in that opening period, we would tire, because we were relentlessly pressing them. I mean, like, so high up. It was
insane. I can barely remember Borough being in our half for the first half an hour. But then we did start to tire, and I think that extra man that Borough had in the middle really started to kind of pay dividends. We were still okay, I thought, for that first 10 minutes or so. Even after the goal, Coburn should score, should equalise. But after that, I feel like the wind is sucked out of our sails a little bit, and we collapse, and we look really shaky defensively against a decent Borough side. I want to give them some credit; they looked a good side, but we allowed them to grow into the game, and the amount of times they were running at us, and just like there wasn't a single challenge going in. I know that you don't want to overcommit and get done, but like they were weaving in and out of us inside the penalty area, especially for that first goal. It was ludicrous. I want to talk about maybe some of the negatives and then end on a positive. Cooper and Tanganga, but I think Cooper in particular, he's not really impressed me in the first couple of games. He looks quite slow. I feel like we're trying to raise our standard, and he looks very much like a lower championship centre back, a very steady one who works in a certain system, but maybe not in this one. Tanganga, I don't know, he looks a little bit off, and he's not infallible. I think we do talk about him sometimes like he's the second coming of Franco Baresi, but he definitely has a rick in him, and he wasn't particularly impressive today. Coburn battles hard, really, really worked hard today, but kind of like, even though the 4-4-2 arguably is our strongest formation at the moment, I'm not really seeing quite the kind of link-up play between him and Ivanovic that I'd like to just yet, but maybe that will come with time. And Ivanovic, I think, was trying to do a lot with very little. We just didn't really get the ball into him enough. When we did, he looked like he might create something. But yeah, for the positives, I thought Sturge came in and did a passable job. Really difficult environment to come into. Kramer and Negley, even though Negley does look rusty, I thought there was the makings of a really promising partnership there. I thought Denor and Mitchell were absolutely superb in the first half, and then got overrun in the second. There's a makings of a decent team here, but I think I predicted 8th at the start of the season, and I don't see any reason to change my mind on that. I think we will be better to watch, but I think for all the strides we've made going forward, we do look a bit weaker defensively, and I wouldn't mind a couple of additions in that area. Really hoping that the Doughty injury isn't too serious. But yeah, we move on. It's only the second game of the season. Roll on Sheffield United. Cheers, Nick.
Hello, Nick. It's Martin Colwell here. Hope you're well after today's pile of shite at the Den. Very strange game. First half, I thought that after the initial 15 minutes of press by Millwall, both teams were very poor. Some of the Millwall players seemed to be lifeless. Femi Aziz just couldn't do anything really. Alfie Doughty, I think I'll give him the benefit of that because I think he was probably playing injured because he had to go off injured, but he was lethargic on the left. And I thought that the two forwards, Coburn and the Serb, I thought it was men against boys really, because I think they were just getting bullied by their centre halves all game long. I mean, the Serb must have touched the ball 3 times in the match. I know Coburn had the chance that he missed that hit both posts, but really, I think at half time, Middlesbrough had sussed Millwall up that they were weak down the wing, that Kramer, I thought, was a liability at right back. He was getting forward, not particularly doing anything with the ball, but then getting caught out at the back. He had his booking and he looked out of place, really. I think that we do need a quicker proper right back. I think that Lenny is probably past his best and that Danny McNamara is not good enough in an attacking sense. As I say, second half, it was men against... they were all over us, really, and they were deserved winners, I thought, Middlesbrough. I don't think they were any good, but I thought they were much better than Millwall second half. Much better movement, more fluid, made use of the poor defending down the wings, lots of movement, and they took their chances. I thought when Sturge came on, he looked a bit more solid defensively at left back than Alfie Doughty. I think he may be the answer at left back, and either Doughty or Aziz plays on the left. I quite liked the idea of Negley moving into the middle and trying to be a number 10 on the ball. I think he just lacked the killer ball, really. I think I'd like to see Casper De Norre play a bit forward because I think he's a good player and I think he's a bit wasted too deep. I think him and Billy Mitchell did an okay job in the middle there. I'm not going to criticise them. They did an okay job. But as I say, it was difficult with the attack being so pathetic, really. I thought the attack was pathetic. My one concern about the team going forward, wherever they are in the league, is that I know this will be unpopular with a lot of supporters because I know they love him, but I just don't think Jake Cooper is up to the standard. I think he's a liability. I don't think he can distribute the ball. I think he fouls when he goes up for corners. He gets caught out with a bit of pace or trickery. And I know there's a hierarchy in the club that certain players can't be dropped. And I think Jake Cooper is one of them. But it does concern me because I just don't think he's good enough to play at this level now. I think he's a big liability. And I think if I was an opposition manager, I'd concentrate on Jake Cooper because he can't play a ball out, and certainly on the ground he gets his feet in a mess and he's slow. I'll be interested when the window comes to a call to see if Jeff Tanganga's still here. I thought he played okay but not good. I think he's either looking after himself or he's not fully motivated to play at the moment. And if he decides to stay with us, then perhaps he will improve there. But I do worry about the defence. They looked wide open to me in parts, particularly in the second half. But in the first half as well, Middlesbrough had some good chances that they wasted. But we've still got 2 weeks in the transfer window. I think we need another proper centre forward because I think although the Serb may score goals, he is not a centre forward. He's a goal scorer. He gets bullied by these big centre halves in the Championship. And I think Coburn is a bit weak as well physically, and I think he gets knocked off the ball by these better players. I'm not doubting their enthusiasm to play. I just doubt that they've not got the physicality to play, and I'd like to see a bigger centre forward come in to perhaps help them out in the season. And it could even be an experienced player who can just come in and play, the odd 30 minutes and take the weight off them. Because I just don't think they're up to home games where we play the ball forward. I think the Millwall team are much more suited to away games where they can play on the break. I don't think that we've really got the ability. I know they're trying to play Negley as a playmaker, and perhaps RBW is the player to be playmaker, but we're lacking that player in midfield. And I think I've said to you a couple of times before, we lack that attacking creative midfielder. And whether Negley is it and he improves to that, or RBW plays, he improves to that, I don't know. But that's probably a hole in the team as well. But I really would like to see a right back in the Norton Cuffy mould who can get forward properly and get back. Because I don't think Crammer's particularly good on the ball in those wide positions. I know he crossed for the Negley goal against Norwich, but he looked like
a bit Bambi on ice at some times when he got the ball and didn't really know what to do with it or how to have the technique to play it. But having said that, it's only 2 games. It's maybe a good thing that the second and third goals went in, because it's the dawning of realism. I mean, for not for supporters, but for Alex Neil to say, look, we've come up really, really short here, nowhere near good enough to be towards the top of this league. So we need to sort a few things out, particularly before the transfer window ends. But that's my thoughts, really. I'm off to have a drink now to drown my sorrows. And good luck to you all. Come on, you Lions.
Evening, Nick. Rob Abbott here. Hope all is well. Apart from, suffering that 3-0 loss there. Bit of a reality check for us. No need to panic though. Just been reading a bit of Twitter and some comments on the train on the way back to my mum's in Sick up there. But a lot of people sort of not very happy. Can understand that. Today's performance, I don't think we deserve to win that game. But I think there is fine margins in this league. We're only 2 games in, so let's really assess where we are after 10. But fine margins. I think if Casper and Nor puts that away, albeit give credit to bloody Luke Isle in there for taking it off the line. If that goes in, I think we go and win the game. And then who knows what happens if Coburn puts that header away. 2 chances on a different day go in. It could be a different result. So that's the fine margins in the Championship. As for the game overall, I thought the first 15 minutes we looked very, very good. We were pressing really high, won the ball a lot, turned them over a lot higher, but didn't get any real outcomes or any shots in that first 15 minutes when we did keep winning the ball high. Then Middlesbrough come into the game a little bit, and then I thought we finished the first half quite strong as well. But again, no real chances by that Casper de Nor one. I think Negley had a header as well, but would have, I wouldn't. It was a half chance from an Aziz cross. Then the second half, you've got to give Middlesbrough credit. I think they changed their shape. They certainly got a lot more numbers around the ball, played little triangular football, and it looked like they outnumbered us in the middle of the park. So you've got to give them some credit. And they looked a very good team in the second half, and they managed that game seriously well. So give Middlesbrough credit. But I don't think it was good enough by us. I think, looking back at the goals, I watched there on YouTube on the train, Jay Cooper diving in for that first goal is a big mistake. Then I think he's caught well out of position for the third goal as well. So not the best of games or second half there by our captain. He's getting a lot of stick on Twitter. The second goal was a set piece, wasn't it? It was just bobbling around. So, look, reality check. We're only 2 games in. It's classic Millwall, isn't it? You've been following them for 60-odd years. I'm 43 years old. I've been going since I've been 5. We go and win at Norwich for the first time in my lifetime in 58 years, and then we lose 3-0 at home to Middlesbrough. I think that's 3 years in a row we've lost our first home game. Let's not panic, but on to Sheffield next week. See if Alex Neil makes any changes for that. Hopefully Alfie Doherty is not badly injured, because he'd be missed. But to be fair, Sturge did quite well. But that second half wasn't that good. We didn't create anything bar the header by Coburn. We didn't look that threatening going forward compared to the first half and compared to last week at Norwich. But onwards and upwards, like I said, hope all is well, and chat soon. I met Aaron Paul actually outside, said hello to him. So hopefully you get him on the podcast soon, because great man, like listening to him. Right, take care.
Well, if ever there was a reality check, that was it yesterday, wasn't it, Nick?
But, outside the den and inside the Lions Centre yesterday before the game, I was spending what seemed like hours before the game telling people to get a grip because, telling me playoffs this and promotion that, for fuck's sake, all through our history we've had the bubble burst, and why should a home game versus the Borough be any different? I thought we saw a game of 3 thirds, in my opinion. We were brilliant for the first third, competed well in the second third, but then we were played off the park in the final third of the game, and Middlesbrough looked like us at Norwich last week. They had to sustain a half hour of pressure, but grew into the game. And just like us at Carrow Road last week, where we could have won 3-0, if it wasn't for the freak goal scored off of Sargent's arsehole, and at the other end, Femi must score. And regards yesterday's substitutions, I was a little surprised Luke Cundle didn't feature because he was one of the sharpest players, in my opinion, in pre-season. And we could have done with more creativity through the middle alongside Negley. But it's a different score, isn't it? It's a different score line and a different result if Negley, Casper and Coburn score, but it wasn't to be. But in Alex Neil, I trust. Some people have got the wrong end of the stick about his comments about achieving promotion because it didn't mean he was saying that about this season. You have to be consistent to think about the playoffs, not Jekyll and Hyde, like Millwall have been in the first 2 games. Have patience. Keep the faith. Middlesbrough will be in the shake-up for the end-of-season minefield that is the playoffs, and so will Norwich, and so might Millwall. But fans do need to manage their expectations. It's much easier to do that, when you know a little bit more about the teams that make up the Championship and not so blinkered just about Millwall. The coin toss didn't bode well yesterday, did it? And the venerable Bede would have been doing his bollocks at the Rob Edwards-inspired decision to kick towards the CBL. Great to see you at the Lions Centre yesterday, Nick, and thanks for supporting Mike George's book launch. As for the Lions, let's get a reaction next weekend. Come on, you Lions.
Thanks for listening to this edition of Achtung Millwall. If you're tuning in via Spotify or YouTube, please feel free to comment, like or subscribe as you see fit. God bless. Until the next show then, it's bye for now.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.